Konnichiwa, Tokyo. That's a phrase so many Americans will love to hear in about 2 years when the world comes to Tokyo for the Olympic Games in 2020. Behind me is the construction of the brand new Olympic Aquatic Center that will welcome the world to this beautiful city. Now, for some Americans, this will be a return trip from the recent Pan Pacific Championships, and for others, it will be a dream come true to become an Olympian. And today, we officially kick off the road to the Tokyo Olympic Games with the announcement of the official time standards to make the U.S. Olympic trials in 2020 in Omaha. So, wait a second. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in Jacksonville. I'll see you there.
And good evening, and welcome to Jacksonville, Florida, for the 2020 Olympic Trials Time Standards Reveal Show. My name is Mike Unger with USA Swimming, and in a moment, flying in on the red eye from Tokyo directly to Jacksonville will be Rowdy Gaines. Tonight, we are going to reveal 28 Olympic Trials time standards, 14 men's events and 14 women's events. The event's going to be held June 21 to 28, the official dates, in Omaha, Nebraska, and we'll bring together some of the greatest athletes in the country. And without further ado, let's bring on three-time Olympic gold medalist, Rowdy Gaines.
Thank you. Thank you. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Rowdy.
I'm ready for this again. Thank you very much.
I know. How many Olympic Games have you called?
This will be number 8 coming up, so it's quite a thrill every single time.
And for me, this is going to be number 7 to work on. So
well, we've worked together on 7 of these 8, I like to tell this story, and believe me, it's quick, but if you ever watch the movie Broadcast News, he's my Holly Hunter. He's the guy whispering in my ear. Some of you probably think I'm pretty bad, but some of you might think I'm okay. Well, you can thank him either way, because he's the one whispering in my ear.
The bad part, I worry about that. Rowdy, what do you think of the trials? When you think of that, what comes to mind? Because I know you've swum in quite a few of those.
Well, there are a lot of a range of emotions. There's no question about it. And I think if you ask any athlete today and of any year, they will tell you the Olympic trials is the most stressful, most high-pressure meet of their career, and that includes the Olympic Games. Now, outside the Phelpses and the Ledeckis of the world, of course, but most of them, there's so much emotion, you know, the highs, the lows, the peaks, the valleys, and you go through all of this in a matter of 8 days, well, now 9 days, and it's one word, if I could describe it, is intense.
Well, the trials this time, we plan on having about 1,300 athletes there. That's the goal, at least. We seem to keep missing that goal. We missed it in 2016 for sure, with over nearly 1,800 athletes there.
Well, I laugh at that, buddy, because every single time you set these standards, the American athletes rise to the occasion. There's a reason why our country has been number 1 in the world for 62 straight years, because they rise to the occasion, and that cream always rises to the top, and the Olympic trials is a perfect example of that.
Well, let's get going, don't we?
Let's do it, and why not start off with the women's and men's freestyle events, and nobody better could help us go through that than 2-time Olympian, 3 Olympic medals, 2 of them gold, 14 World Championship medals, half of those gold. She is the national team managing director, first female in history, groundbreaking Lindsay Mintenko.
Thanks for having me.
I love saying that, groundbreaking.
Thanks, it's exciting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty
Lindsay, you swam in some trials, so
I did.
what was the gamut of emotions that you had?
We were spot on, absolutely. I think the fact that it's super intense, probably more intense than the Olympic Games, plus you're in front of your friends and family. You know, it's not just your parents that go to the Olympics, it's your family, it's your friends that are traveling there. They want to see you do well, and so there's a little bit extra pressure, but it's so emotional. You're watching your friends make the team, you're watching your friends not make the team. You know, so they're friends that you've known for years, that you swam against, that you've been on national teams with. So it runs the gamut of emotions, for sure.
Well, let's get started. Let's go through the women's events first, women's freestyle events, and we'll start off with a 50 freestyle, the official cut for 2020 is 25.99. First time in history it's been under 26. That is 0.2 of a second faster than in 2016.
Well, and Rowdy, this is an event that's so fast around the world as well. We've had some great American women, but also this is an event where the U.S. has had some great sprinters over time, but hasn't won a gold medal in this event since 1996. Yeah,
and Lindsay, this is an important event for the United States as we gravitate to the hundreds and 200s especially, and this is an extremely veteran-laden event. This is the oldest event on the women's side as far as top 10 times go, along with the women's 100 breaststroke.
Well, absolutely. I think that this kind of sets the tone, right? The sprint freestylers are always something that people enjoy watching. It sets the tone for the meet, especially as we get into the 100 and 200s for the relays. But this is going to be a great race, whether or not just in the United States, but also when you get to Tokyo. I mean, you can't ever count out the Aussies, especially in the sprint events.
Well, it's a who's who of American sprinters, which takes us to the 100 freestyle next. And again, a lot of veterans on that side. And the cut for the 100 freestyle for women in 2020, 56.29, 0.2 of a second faster there in the 100 freestyle. And this is a critical event for the United States, and it always will be.
Critical event. I think one of the coolest stats about this event, though, is in 2012 we had one athlete who went under the 54-second mark. This year we've already had 11. And so it's going to be a fast race, lots of depth, 6 spots potentially on the line for this race. It's going to be, I love the 100 free.
You know, it took 54.0 in 2016, 54.07 actually, to make that final 8. It's going to be faster this time.
Absolutely. Plan on it.
Which takes us, by the way, the Campbell sisters were 1-2 this year in 2018, Kate and Bronte, and they will have a lot of pressure in the women's 100 freestyle from a lot of great American sprinters, and you can see Simone Manuel, the Olympic gold medalist and world champion, leading the way. The women's 200 freestyle, again, excels on the veteran side, but we start to get a little bit younger in the fact that you'll see some young up-and-comers. The official split, you see it right there, 2:01.69, 0.7 of a second faster than its 2016, Mike.
Well, Rowdy, I mean, clearly we have the last 2 Olympic champions in this event are from the U.S. Allison Schmidt in 2012, and then you have Katie Ledecky in 2016. So a lot of expectations here.
And what does that do, Lindsay, to have those 2 veterans right there at the top you see on your screen?
Well, it certainly helps, especially when it comes to relays. Relays are so important to the success of the U.S. team, and by having veterans on relays makes all the difference in the world. My favorite event of all time, the 200 free. Again, so many spots open, and there's always somebody that surprises you in this race.
Well, of course, you made this event twice, so that's, you know, that's of course
my
it has
favorite.
to be your favorite event.
The next event, which let's talk about the 400 free, former world record holder in the 400 meter short course swimming, the 400 freestyle official time standard, 4:16.89, a little over a second faster than in 2016.
The 400 free is really, it's kind of in between, right? You don't know if it's a sprint, you don't know if it's a distance event, and all I'm saying is I'm glad I'm not swimming it anymore, because it is going to be a pretty intense competition. And again, the young Aussies stepping up at top of the podium this summer. Her time, she was under 4 minutes for the first time this summer, the second female under 4 minutes. So again, the tight race worldwide.
Mike, can I ask you a question on this event? The women's 400 freestyle, and you see it up there on the board right now, it is so, right now, we're 2 years away, we've got a long way to go, but as you look at those times, obviously Katie and Leah are so far ahead of everybody else. What do you have to do now to take that next step to get closer to them?
Well, I mean, clearly they're the 2 favorites right now, Rowdy, but there are so many young athletes right now, especially junior team athletes, other athletes coming up that need to take that step. I mean, 4:06 was 3rd place there for lifetime bests, and there certainly is an opportunity for those athletes to kind of inch toward it.
And I love you saying that, because Lindsay made the good point about other athletes. Ariane Titmus, for example, broke 4 minutes. We never heard of her 2 years ago. So that's another case where if you're a young athlete, you could do that here in the 400 freestyle.
I still remember back at the Charlotte meet in 2012, the Pro Swim Series meet, and Allison Schmidt was leading the race, and all of a sudden there was this swimmer in lane 5 kind of creeping up next to her, and everyone was like, who is that? Who is that? And that was Katie Ledecky.
We called her Kathleen, or I did anyway, when she swam that race. All right, on to the 800 freestyle. 8:48.09. That is almost 2 seconds faster than in 2016. And Katie Ledecky, obviously head and shoulders above everybody else, again, in this event, about 9 seconds faster than anybody else in the world.
You know, I think that the American public, American swimmers, have become spoiled because Katie has been so dominant in this race. And you know, ever since 2012, she's been on top every summer. That's 7 straight summers in a row. And that is just absolutely incredible. The consistency is just amazing.
In a nutshell, how do you describe Katie and what she's been able to do over the last 7 years?
Dominance, honestly. I think that that's really the only word that comes, the first word that comes to my mind. I think that her ability to, I think what's pretty special about her too is that her ability to continue to better herself. You know, she's not always racing the person next to her. She doesn't have that opportunity like many of us, you know, have to race the person next to you. She's racing the clock and she continues to better herself every time she gets in the water. And I think that's pretty special. It takes a special person to do that.
And as you can see, 13 seconds ahead of the second place American, but a lot of youngsters, a lot of swimmers making noise, and we'll talk about a couple of those a little bit later on. And now I would go and say we're taking a break and go to the men's 50 freestyle, but wait just a
wait
second.
A minute.
Finally, I've been preaching to the world for years and years. We have the women's 1500, and there's the time standard. And guess what? There was no previous time standard. First time in history we will have the women's 1500, 16:49.19.
We actually had a hard time coming up with a standard here because there was less data to go by. And we spent a lot more time this year looking at the data, trying to develop these standards.
Didn't you have isn't the standard the same as the 2018 Nationals?
It is.
I think it
exactly
is,
yeah. And there were not that many qualifiers in that event. Clearly, that's a time to shoot for now, and I'm sure that people will get that standard.
The time standard's out, they will. The time standard's out there, they'll go for it, they'll get it.
All right, so we're going to take a short break. We went through the women's 50 freestyle all the way to the 1500. We'll be back with the men's freestyle events. And believe me, we have everything from A, right there in Nathan Adrian, and one of the greatest sprinters in history, all the way to Zine, the new name on the scene, at least the last few years, Zane Grothy. In those distance events, we'll be talking
to
respect,
safe relationships, and a positive environment. I have the right to personal boundaries that should never be crossed.
Professional boundaries that I will always follow.
I have the right to
Speak up and protect.
We stand together.
We are USA Swimming.
As a survivor of abuse, I urge all of us to prevent it in the future and become champions of safe sport. For tools, resources, or to report, go to usaswimming.org/protect.
Welcome back to the 2020 Olympic trial standards, and we are now with the 50 freestyle for men. And Lindsay, this is another tough event. This is the oldest top 10 age for men. 50 freestyle averages age of over 25 years of age, and the cut for the 50 freestyle 23:19, only a tenth of a second faster than 2016. Mike, what do you make of that event? Only a tenth of a second faster.
Well, we did look at this, and the whole idea of getting Rowdy, faster, we certainly considered it. Going under 23 seconds was actually almost the next step. Initial thought, right? Everything has to end in a 9. We have a policy that everything has to end in the 9 and the 100th. But you know, these events are getting fast. We expect that there'll be a lot of heats of this race, and so you know this is an event that has been so good for the U.S. for so many years. And here, we see some of the names right now of the current guys, but I wanted to call attention to, I think, one of the most miraculous things that happened in swimming. Anthony Irvin, and what was from 2016, 16 years between gold medals, individual gold medals. I think that's one of the most remarkable things from 2000 when he was 19 years old to when he was 35 in 2016. And I always say that the funniest stat is that he won those 2 individual gold medals by a combined .01. He tied with Gary Hall Jr. in 2000, and then he won by 100th in 2016. Just amazing.
It takes a special person to swim the 50 free, I'll be honest. So it's going to be a great race, as always.
And which leads us to the next 2 events for me. Of course, I'm a little biased because I swam the 100 freestyle myself, and you were 200 freestyle, also the 100 too. But The next two events, same for the women, same for the men, because they're so critical from the relay perspective. So we take a look at the men's 100 freestyle, 50.49. That is, again, 0.2 of a second faster than in 2016. And, you know, we're led by the greatest American sprinter, in my opinion, Nathan Adrian, but there are a whole lot of other guys, aren't there, Lindsay?
You're right. There's a whole lot of people behind Nathan, and Nathan is definitely a leader, both in and out of the water, and it's really fun to watch him grow into his role as a veteran. And he's definitely needs to get his hand on the wall for the relays. He's an incredible relay swimmer. We love having him back up at the end of our relays, and definitely looking forward to this race. Lots of new names on that list, which will make it the final very exciting.
Well, and obviously at the top, Caleb Dressel breaking the American record in the summer of 2017, and really, I mean, first man under 40 seconds in the 100-yard freestyle. So he clearly is, you know, he's got his work cut out for him for certain, but he has really made his mark in the last couple of years.
And the rest of the world is pretty good in both of those events. In fact, the top 7 swimmers in the 50 and the 100 freestyle are all from 7 different countries. So it's a great range. And the same goes for the 200 freestyle, which is the next event on the program. 150.79. That is over a second faster than 2016. And again, how do you explain the 50 freestyle? I know it's, you know, 450s, you know, you add it up a little bit more, but still over a second's a lot faster, Mike.
Well, that's certainly the case. A lot of the data we looked at, the U.S. is just getting faster in this event. I mean, it took 145.6 to make the team, the top 2 in 2016, and it took 147.5 was the 6th place time, the trials, 147.5. If you have to look at the future here for 2020, 147.5, I'm not sure it's going to make the top 16 in 2020.
And Lindsay, when you look at these names, first glance, knee-jerk reaction, what's your thought about their relay?
Well, I think the most exciting thing is you have people like Townley who can definitely back it up at the end, but the new names that are on that list are super exciting as well. And again, same as the women's 200 free, there's going to be a sleeper. You don't know who that person is yet, but there's always going to be somebody that gets their hand on the wall to make the team.
One of the toughest events, no doubt about it. 4 Americans in the top 10 in the world in 2018.
You know what, Rowdy, just one last thing. Those 100 and 200 freestyles, so much changes in the last 10 meters. It's like, you know, the people that might be leading all of a sudden could be 5th or 6th, or somebody from 6th might be 2nd. And so exciting to watch the final meters of those races.
You're so right, Mike, because I think it's the 100 freestyle. I was looking, less than a second separated the top 8 swimmers in the 100 freestyle, so it was really tight. In fact, it might have been less than that. But anyway, it was incredibly tight all the way across around the world, and especially here in the United States, another tough event for the Americans. The men's 400 freestyle is next, 3:57.29. That's about a second and a half faster than it was in 2016 when it was 3:58.69.
Well, you know, this event internationally has gotten super fast. Sun Yang and Ian Thorpe, you know, coming through the years. This is an event the U.S. has not won the gold medal since 1984. Your Olympics when you won gold. George DiCarlo, correct. So this is an event that the U.S. has you know, been around, been on the medal stand certainly over the last couple of games, but they haven't made the top.
You're right, Mike. But Lindsay, as you look at those names, you start to see some, and some of them are not even in there. You start to see some youth there. There's some names you might not be aware of. Obviously, you know the names of Haas and Dwyer, but Schultz and Abruzzo, the youngster, Freeman, and there are so many others that are kind of creeping up there that have a chance.
What I love about this race is there's so much passion. So many people want to be on the team in this race, and it starts with Zane. I think that Zane is just really leading the charge when it comes to the 400 and up races, and you can see the passion in Zane, and he's really kind of taking the initiative to be like, I want to be the guy that is on the podium, that is on the gold medal stand for the U.S. in this event, and I'm super excited about this race.
And if you go ahead, Mike.
Well, I just think the best thing about that graphic was Zane's hair. I mean, to me, that put him right at the top of the podium.
A lot of personality right there, a lot of personality.
I know, I'm jealous.
I knew you'd say that.
I'm jealous.
I was ready for that one. Yeah. All right, new event. How about this one? The men's 800 freestyle. And the cut is brand new, obviously, 8:12.99. I'll ask you the same question. How do you come up with 8:12.99?
That was the national standard as well.
Right.
But there's a lot of guys that have really stepped up in this event. There's currently 13 Americans under 8 minutes, led by Zane Grothe, who nearly broke that American record this summer, a couple of times in Irvine and also in Tokyo. So yeah, it's a little tricky trying to come up with a standard for the first time, but we do have enough data. And looking at it, we use the nationals as a real strong guide for us in this event.
And as we look at the names and you look at the data for the time standard, again, the names sound familiar in some ways, but a lot of times you'll be watching at home, and unless you know them, the names are going to be a little unfamiliar. Norman, Fink, Schultz, I mean, these are names that are starting to move up, and as you said, so many breaking 8 minutes, but Grothe leads the way, Lindsay.
Well, and I think that what's exciting about this race is that we don't really know what's going to happen, but I think looking at it right now might be one of the tightest races of Olympic trials, because you just don't know, and these athletes are still learning how to swim the 800 in a big setting, and this is definitely the biggest stage that they'll be swimming it on.
Well, really interesting how the events were added into the program for Tokyo and for Omaha. The women's 1500 and the men's 800 and the mixed medley relay. We had thought that event, that the trials and the games would maybe expand by a day, but they haven't. And so they're still at 8 days, and Omaha will be 8 days. But those two distance races have been forced into or wedged into the program, and that makes it very, very hard for those distance swimmers. They're going to have a big challenge on their hands.
They're going to have a challenge, and they may have to make some decisions about what they want to swim, and they may swim a prelim race and maybe not swim a final race, so they're going to have to make some decisions maybe on the fly, depending on the schedule and what their schedule is.
Exactly.
Men's 1500, 15:44.89, and I know it's 1500 meters, but over 5 seconds faster than it was in 2016. No more Connor Yeager. 2 Americans, though, in 2018 were ranked in the top 10, none in 2017. So again, you're starting to see that youth move up and start to make some noise.
Yeah, and the guy that's made some noise, a couple guys, both Zane, who's really dropped his time, 12, 13 second drop. That guy. He's second on the list, as you see. But Jordan Wilimovsky, who was 4th at the Olympic Games back in 2016, still there. Obviously, he does that amazing double with the 10K as well. And so he's the leader for the U.S. right now, and he won that gold medal at Pampax.
Well, and I love the fact that there are 3 guys under the 1450 mark. I think that's a huge step for our sport. We haven't had that in a long time, and I think it just shows what our coaches and athletes have been able to do in the 1500, and again, looking forward to that race at trials as well.
I mean, Robert Fink was really, that's another big drop for him as well. I think that, yeah, exactly.
Can you put that back on the board, Peter, real quick? I just want to look at those names real quickly again. If it's too late, let me know in my ear. But I just want to look at the names again, because even for myself, and I feel like I know swimming a little bit, look at 3 through 6. I mean, obviously we know them along the way, but if you're new to swimming or you're just a new swimming fan, some of those names are unfamiliar now, but trust me, in the years ahead, you're going to hear a lot about these young guys. And that's exciting for the United States. So it creates this great opportunity. Lindsay, can't thank you enough.
Thanks for having me.
Can I ask you one last question? What's next for you as far as preparing this team over the next couple of years?
How long do you have? Because it could be a while.
In 30 seconds or less.
Exactly. Well, we have so many competitions. Next summer is a huge summer for us. We have over 130 athletes that will be competing for us internationally. And that's just on the national team side. That doesn't include the junior team side or the open water team. So it's going to be a great opportunity for our athletes to get that international experience. So if they do get an opportunity to go to Tokyo, they have something under their belt that they can compare themselves to.
Good luck, okay?
Looking forward to it.
Knock it out of the park. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, one of the brightest minds in the sport of swimming today. We'll be back in just a moment. You introduce Matt. Yeah.
They might say we don't belong.
Well, why do we even do
We're
this?
doing good.
Why do you get sideways glances?
For opening and both of them, we're great. Less than difference. 8
You
event,
wanted to be around an hour.
50
We
minutes.
stare at a black line for hours at a time.
We're okay?
Yeah,
Before the
This is
show
a
that's good pace.
Content.
Good pace.
Thousands of
Yeah.
miles without.
Yeah, it just kind of gets back
If you
and
want to
forth.
add something, just say, hey, wait a second, I want to add this. I mean, it's very conversational.
We are different.
We are swimmers.
We are USA Swimming.
And we are one.
USA Swimming Diversity and Inclusion has been empowering athletes and coaches for 15 years. Through education programs, camps for athletes and coaches, community swim team programs, and coaching mentorship. When looking back at the past 15 years, it's hard not to be wowed by how far we've come, from teaching thousands of kids how to swim, all the way to Olympic gold. We are proud of what we have done and are excited for the future.
Allie?
We are USA Swimming. We are one.
Welcome back to Jacksonville, Florida for the 2020 Olympic Trials Time Standards Reveal Show. I'm Mike Unger with Rowdy Gaines, and we're joined now by Matt Barbini, High Performance Director at USA Swimming. I got your title wrong, and I can't believe it. I worked with you.
My boss got my title wrong. I feel very welcome.
You just got a promotion on site here. That's great.
That's right, that's great.
You're doing a great job. Matt, you do so much work with our national team. There's a whole crew of you that does that around the country with athletes, with coaches. At the Olympic trials, what's most important for you?
Oh man, so we're supposed to be objective. We're picking an Olympic team, so we're behind the scenes. We try to provide great service to everybody, race statistics, video information, anything they need. But at the same time, it's a very intense environment, just like for everybody else. And it's the kind of our areas of where a lot of the release happens. So we see the highest of highs and the lowest of lows for people that we've known really well over the course of the quad. So it's definitely an intense environment.
Well, the stroke events for the women are just incredible, just as almost every event on the program. And when you start it all off in the women's 100 backstroke, the time standard, wow, all I can say. 1:02.69 is the time standard. That is 0.7 of a second faster than 2016. And Mike, again, this event is just unbelievable.
Well, this event has gotten very, very fast. It was one of the women's 100 and the 200 backstroke got very fast from 16, and there were a stack of participants back in 2016. And so you clearly have Kathleen Baker this summer breaking the world record and doing so well in all of her events, really. But then the other athletes, there's about 4 or 5 other athletes that have really stepped up.
When you look at the world rankings, we have 4 of the top 8. And so you have Baker and Smoliga are returning Olympians, but then the next 2 are both in high school. So Reagan Smith and Phoebe Bacon. When you think about that age and that quality, there's definitely some room for improvement there. So this is a seriously competitive event.
Well, you saw the list of names. It's just unbelievable. 4 Americans in the top 7 in the world, including the world record holder, Kathleen Baker. The women's 200 backstroke, interestingly, is 2:14.69. Again, very, very fast, almost 2 seconds faster than in 2016. And Matt, this is the youngest of any event on the women's side when you break down the top 10 swimmers. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't really answer why, but it is really interesting that these 200s of stroke tend to stray a little bit younger, and this one internationally is so competitive. There's a spread of 1.5 seconds between the fastest time in 2018 down to the 8th fastest time in 2018. So there's really, I mean, it is no room for error either at our trials or internationally.
I mean, you see this field here with Kathleen Baker at the top. She did win the Pan Pacs this summer, and Reagan Smith was bronze, but there's some great swimmers around the world here. Emily Seabaum, Taylor Ruck, Kylie Moss. I mean, there's some heavy-duty competition in this race. The U.S. has won the last 2 Olympic titles with Missy Franklin in 2012 and Maya Dorado in 2016. So it's become a really, really strong race in the U.S.
Yeah, and speaking of 2016, so it took a 2:08.84 to make the final. We already have 5 athletes that are faster than it took to get in the final.
At the Olympics,
at the Olympics, yeah. And then we have 5 athletes that are on.
Can we enter 5? Can we enter 5 at the Olympics? I think we should be pushing for that.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do it. Well, let's next anyway, go to the women's 100 breaststroke. And along with the women's 50 freestyle, the most mature event as far as age goes, 1:10.99, about a half a second faster than in 2016, and all led by the world record holder and Olympic champion Lily King. And another tough event for the United States. I mean, we talked about 4 out of 7, Mike, Matt, in the women's 100 backstroke, 5 of 10 top times in the world all came from the United States.
Led by the world record holder, who is ongoing with probably the most fun rivalry in swimming between Lily and Yulia Efimova from Russia. So I think that'll probably carry on. But then for that, behind her, it is really, really tight.
Well, and you look at the U.S. in the Olympics were first and third, with Katie Miley getting third, and also Katie getting second at the World Championships in 17. So there's, you look at those times are right at the top there. Molly Hannes, Micah Summerall coming back. Obviously, maybe known for her
comeback this year, right?
Exactly, maybe known for her 200 breasts a little bit more, but she's right there, 106 low.
Those top five, and Bria Larson, an Olympian in 2012, those top 5 times were all, again, in the top 10 in the world. And the 200 breaststroke, a little bit more opportunity to do better here. 2:33.29 is the cutoff. Is the standard. That's over a second and a half faster than 2016. 1.7 seconds to be exact. Another great list of breaststrokers here, and a lot of familiar names, just like it was in the 100.
Yeah, we're definitely improving in this event. So in 2016, to make the semifinal at trials, you had to go 2:29.12. In 2018, we had 26 athletes get under that time, and 11 of them went under 2:26.7, which is what took to make the final at trials. So we're definitely improving.
Mike, when you look at these swimmers right here, it almost mirrors, except for Emily and Annie down there in 5 and 6, but it mirrors the 100. And I think that's a testament across the board in all the stroke events and even the freestyles, that a lot of these athletes from the United States swim both the 100 and 200 very well.
Yeah, the diversity they show really is very helpful when you're putting when a team gets put together. I mean, you saw that the top 3 times, I believe, were all 221 pluses,
right.
And that's a showdown really. And if you look at those 3 people, only 2 can make the team, obviously. So that's crazy.
That's what's going to be so tough, isn't it, Matt? That the fact that you're gonna have so many great athletes at the Olympic trials. I mean, in my trials in 1984, Matt Biondi finished 3rd, and his time would have won the bronze medal in those Olympic Games. That's how tough our country is across the board in almost every event.
Yeah, it's so true. And I remember dreading the men's 100 backstroke in 2016, just knowing that those 3 guys, Ryan Murphy, David Plummer, and Matt Grievers, only 2 could make it, and really was not looking forward to seeing which one wasn't going to. It was intense.
Yeah. Which leads us to the 100 butterfly, the trial standard 1:00.69. That is a half a second faster than in 2016 when it was 1:01.19. There you see it, 00:69. And led by Kelsey Worrell, the 3rd-ranked swimmer in the world in the 100 fly this year, Mike.
Well, I think this event is it's kind of interesting, sort of how this event has evolved. Dana Vollmer was she was at the top for a number of years.
And hasn't retired.
Has not retired yet, and obviously swam a little bit this year. Has two young boys right now, Olympic gold medalist in 12 and a bronze in 16, but love to see her get back into it, and I think it looks like she is.
What is it that makes this event so special for the American women? I think one, at least from my opinion, is it automatically puts you on that relay, being the standard bearer in that. How important is this relay for the United States heading to those trials?
I mean, the medley relay, while coming at the end, is still something that everybody thinks about through the trials process. And that person that finishes first at trials, they're more than likely going to be on that finals relay on the last day, and that's something that everybody wants to be a part of. That's an exciting event.
Definitely, and now you throw Kate Campbell's 50-point in at the end of the medley relay for Australia, and that makes things super, super, super competitive, those last couple of legs.
Look at that, all 6 swimmers in the top Americans are all under 58.
Katie McLaughlin, a great comeback story
great
herself.
story.
We talked about Micah earlier, but Katie, neck injury and really was struggled to get back from that injury and is doing great right now, made the team this summer.
Yeah. So I looked back, my first Olympic trials in this job was in 2012. I looked back at the cut for this event from 2012. It was 1:01.99. In 2018, we had 133 athletes go faster than that. So across the board, we're definitely getting better in this event for sure.
As Matt was chatting, you see the time standard for the women's 200 butterfly, 2:14.99, 0.4 of a second faster than 2016, Mike.
Yeah, 2:14.59 is that cut.
59.
And it is currently, this is an event that the U.S. has had some great success, but they haven't won a medal in this event since 2000. And so there's a great chance for improvement and great chance for a lot of our athletes to take a step. Haley Flickener this summer, winning that Pan Pac title, I think really put herself in a great spot.
You say that, and again, you can look at it two ways. A weak event for the United States, I look at it completely differently because I think it creates that opportunity. Clearly, Haley is that cream that definitely rose to the top this year with 2:05, second fastest in the world. But there were 3 Americans in the top 10 in the world this year, Matt.
Yeah, and of the top 10 Americans, 5 were in high school this year. So it's definitely a youth movement in this event, and that's actually kind of the opposite of the way this event has gone internationally in recent years. The winners or top times of the year have been athletes in their top late 20s or early 30s, even with Maria Belmonte, Alice Thomas from Great Britain. It's definitely been an older event, but not for us.
There's a lot of great names in that 200-meter butterfly, without a doubt. So the women's 200 IM, oh boy, what an event. I keep looking at all the names, and I know a lot of these events are competitive, Mike, but this one is just crazy. This in the 400 IM, I just can't even imagine what those trial finals are going to be like. 2:17:39, 1.3 seconds faster, Mike, than in 2016.
Yeah, and this summer we were all surprised a bit by the top time for the U.S. athlete, which was Kathleen Baker, her 2:08 from the Nationals, to win that Nationals in Irvine. She didn't swim the race in Tokyo, but she really made a mark, and I think she's put herself in a good position, but there's a stack of other athletes right there, right behind her.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to say, Matt, when we look at the list of names, I don't think it does justice to what the potential is going to be as well in 2020. You're going to look at some great names up there, but I think some names you don't know and didn't see this summer are going to be there when we get to Omaha in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, we've gotten better in this event. So in 2016, it took a 2:15:80 to make the semifinal. 32 athletes went faster than that in the U.S. in 2018. So it's definitely gotten pretty quick.
And we see Mel Margalis's photo there. She has been very, very steady, very consistent in this event.
In so many events.
Right, and she improved this summer in the 400 IM with a personal best this summer. So, she's sitting in a good spot.
And another name to add is Madison Cox on the 200 IM, who's also going to be a big factor. So the women's 400 IM, 4:51:79. That is over 3 seconds faster than it was in 2016. And again, a lot of different names, even more so maybe than the 200 IM, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the 2 women that made the team in 2016 have retired. And so this is a wide open field. I think when we watched the race in Irvine, I think if we had to predict who was going to win and be on the team there, it was sort of a jumble. I think I got them all wrong. And
completely wrong.
Right. So, Allie McHugh winning that event was really a great swim for her, coming from
4
back
Americans in the top 10 in the world. Matt, what's the outlook now? I think from what your job title says, how do you manage that when you get to the Olympic trials with so many women that have so many great opportunities? How do you manage their time with your expertise?
Man, well, I mean, we do whatever anybody asks, really. I mean, it's not really a management of time. It's just providing as much information and being as available as we can in that environment, which is, sometimes it's very individually specific because some people want to hear a lot and some people don't want to hear anything.
Mike, when you look at the stroke events for the women and the 400 IM led by Leah Smith, especially, how do you feel going in to 2020 with these women's events?
Well, I think that this event in particular, the women's 400 IM, has a great chance for improvement. I think Leah had talked about, she was just swimming freestyle, right, and she saw, I think I have an opportunity in that other 400 IM. And she said, I'm going to jump over there and maybe try that. And then all these other women flood into that event. And so I think that this sort of the rising tide here is raising all those boats in this event. Because Leah had a great summer last year and making the team for Budapest, but there's a lot of other women coming up.
Well, Matt, I want to thank you. I know you have your work cut out for you the next couple of years, but I will say that Matt Barbini and Russell Mark from USA Swimming are really 2 of the brightest minds I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't wait to get to our adult camp. Masters camp coming up next week because he does a session for us, and I'm like all ears. Dude, you know so much about swimming, and I really appreciate all you do for USA Swimming. So thank you for being here. Matt Barbini, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
So stay tuned for our final segment, the men's stroke events, and one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport will join us right here on this stage.
Sigma Gamma Rho is a leading organization. It is an organization that defies all odds. Welcome
back, everybody. Last segment, and certainly last but not least, is one of the greatest coaches, as I said before, in the history of our sport. He is a three-time Olympic coach, the head coach of our Olympic team in 2012, and arguably one of the greatest Olympic teams in history. 20 years, over 20 years at the University of Florida. He won the NCAA championship with the women back in 2010. He does it all for men and women. He has 8 SEC titles to his credit, and he has coached 68 Olympians. Okay, we can give him one of these.
Thank you.
You know I'm not going to do that often.
That's tough for Rowdy to do that.
Pretty good, right? I did
really
that okay?
hard.
Did I do okay? Including Lochte and Dressel and Beisel. The names just go on and on. It's amazing,
That's why I'm sitting between you, fighting off the Auburn-Florida rivalry here.
Welcome. Thank you, Gregg, for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
So you come at it from a completely different angle, but we were talking before the broadcast, and Mike asked you the question, I think, the stress may be just as more on you than it is the athletes, because they only have to worry about themselves. You've got to worry about managing, 20, 30, 40 different personalities and the stresses that come with that.
It's really unique for a coach at the trials. All the meets are important. You're always vested, but you're even more vested at the trials. Athletes have 4 years, and it's not like an NFL football game or something where you get to play again next week, or you get to play again for the Super Bowl next year. You got to wait 4 years before it comes again. And I think the coaches take that to heart too. And it's so it creates a pressure dynamic for them, not because it's themselves, but they feel vested in the athletes, and they certainly want their athletes to do well.
I know that when I will see you on the deck at most meets, we'll sit and talk or stand and talk, and at the trials, I just walk right by you because I don't want to bother you. I know you're focused.
It's the same way in the coaching community. Usually you go to meet and everyone's asking how the family is, and everyone's going, not quite the same at the trials. Everyone's a little bit more edge. So, and part of the key is you got to stay calm and stay relaxed so the athletes understand that too.
That you are, buddy. When on the deck, you are that calm man that everybody needs and looks to.
Mike would attest that's not always true.
All right, why not start with arguably the toughest event on the program, the men's 100 backstroke. Mike, you know the history behind this one. 56.59 is the standard, 0.6 of a second faster than 2016. And Mike, this is quite historical.
The 100 and 200 backstroke in the U.S. program has been just amazing. The legends that have come through with the great names, but 6 straight Olympic gold medals in the 100 back and the 200 back, and that's a credit to the depth in this country.
Oh yeah, and it's not like it's just the two that we go 1-2 in the event in 12, and our third and fourth place guys would have been 1-2 had they gone to the meet too. And it's always that type of scenario. We've got some quality guys. You got older guys and both backstrokes coming in, but tremendous challenges for them because we're going to the other side of the world, and on the other side, the Aussies and the Japanese especially do really, really well in the backstrokes.
What makes this event so special, along with the 200 back, Greg? I mean, I know it's that tradition of excellence, but there's got to be a reason why. I mean, 6 straight is unheard of.
We've held the world record a lot. We're really good underwater. We've got a lot of guys that are really great underwater and that break out and setting it up. And I think that's where that background from the collegiate experience and doing a lot of turning really helps us. And I think there's a little more advantage in the backstroke maybe than some other places.
You know, Matt Barbini was just mentioning the 100 backstroke and not really wanting to watch or see the results of that 100 back with David Plummer and Matt Grievers and Ryan Murphy there. But you've got Matt Grievers. He's 2008 he won the silver medal at the Olympics. 2012 he wins the gold, and he gets third at the trials in 2016, and he's back, right? He's back and he's performing. And so there's new guys coming up. There's also longevity. Oh yeah, there's longevity and a lot of maturity. And those guys are really good athletes. You know, a guy like Grievers and he gets up there and he gets after it, and Murphy doesn't back down. It just brings everyone along with him.
Last 2 Olympic champions, Murph and Grievers. On to the 200 backstroke, another incredibly tough event, 2:02.99. That is 0.8 of a second faster. 3 Americans in the top 10 in the world, just like the 100 backstroke, Mike. You know, this is an event, Rowdy, that breaking 2 minutes used to be just a remarkable thing. Just a remarkable thing. John Neighbor, 1:58 at the 76 Olympics, right? But 26 guys right now under 2 minutes in this event. It is just incredible. Oh yeah, some young guys coming up. You look at the bottom end, those guys in there 4, 5, 6, and even up through 10. We've got some good young backstrokers. They're aggressive, they go after it, but the challenges are big. Russian swim, great backstroke last time. Number 1 guy in the world right now, I believe, is a Russian. Yeah, Kalishnikov, So we've got a little different challenge. We weren't in that same. Well, the 2 guys at the top we've become familiar with, obviously, but the 3 through 6, you're just starting to recognize now. Beach, Alexander, Mefford. I mean, these guys are young and hungry. You throw in a Carson Foster, who's 18 years old. He's not even up there yet. This could be another one of those dogfights when we get to Omaha. You know, go ahead, Greg. And it keeps those older guys on their toes, too. They're aware of the younger guys. They know what's going on, so they're going to be aware. They'll respond. You know, Austin Katz won a medal this summer, got the bronze at the Pan Packs, and NCAA champ as well. So he's making a move. Before we go on, I want to ask you that question because you coached the Olympic champion in this event, the 200 backstroke. How do you take somebody like Ryan Lochte, who won that event, clearly was in a different spectrum from the Olympic trial standpoint because so many athletes, and what I said at the beginning, the trials is so tough, tougher than the Olympic Games, but somebody like Lochte maybe not so. What's it like trying to balance doing something for him that's completely different than the other athletes? Well, you know, you'd like to go to the trials and think there's a little bit left in the tank. Right. So it's got to be part of your plan. But by the same token, you're going to the U.S. trials. You look at that field right there. You can't leave too much in the tank. You got to make sure you make it. So you've got to train with maybe 2 shaves in mind, getting ready for a second performance. And you also have to keep in mind that when you do go to the Olympics, you don't know those guys. It's wide open. I remember when Ryan did win, the leader in the race was Arkady Vachenin. Right. He was in the outside lane, lane 8. He read it 150, and everyone else was looking at the middle of the pool, and he almost snuck away and won the thing. Yeah, he won the bronze medal, and then you ended up coaching him for 5 years. That's right. Right. Men's 100 breaststroke. 1:03.29 is the split. As you see, a lot of great video from this past summer's national championships. 1:03.29, by the way, is 0.4 of a second faster, and this event, again, is loaded with a lot of great swimmers. Well, we talked before about breaking those barriers, and 1 minute is certainly the barrier. There's 6 Americans right now under 1 minute, but around the world, though, the name Adam Peaty is really at the top of the chart. 57. So much pressure on him, right? Right. I would. Well, top 10 times in history. Right. 57-1. That's extraordinary. And it goes even further than that. The other Brit will be a second right now, and the Japanese have been really good in both breaststrokes. So this might be the one event of all of them that we got our work cut out for us just to make sure that we get in the podium. And we're going to have some improvement, and our guys are going to have to be. But don't you get the feeling that I don't know why, but I get the feeling that the Americans are due to have some really breakout swims over the next couple of years, especially when you look at the names like Andrew and Nowicki that are going to put the pressure on those top guys. I think there's going to be a guy that really breaks out. And I think this is an important event, don't you, Coach, from the standpoint of the 400 medley relay for the United States. I think that's a key leg for the U.S.
Oh yeah, if we get a great breaststroke leg, and we're going to be tough to beat in the 400 medley, but it's a competitive world. Everyone's good. I do think you're right. We're due for a breakthrough. We've had a lot of people right there in that 59 low range, and they're close, and it's varied off a lot of different guys. So sooner or later, someone's going to step up and be really good, and it's certainly fun to be the guy that's hunting versus being hunted.
And how important is that, Mike?
Well, I think that keeps everyone on their toes. I mean, if no one has a spot locked up, they're all in that. If you make the final, you could be in lane 8 or lane 1 and still make the team.
Right. Well, the 200 breaststroke is another tough one. 2:17.89. You see the graphic. That is about a half a second faster than it was in 2016. A lot of familiar names, just like it was in the 100. Although you've got a couple of youngsters that might end up making some noise, Roy and Reese, for example, but another good event for the Americans.
Real good. And the biggest challenge in this event, we're going to be good in the event. We've got a lot of people that can swim it. The biggest challenge is this is probably the Japanese best event. And then they've got two breaststrokers. They're going to be right there at home, so they're going to have a big crowd behind them. We have to be aware of that going in, but we've got a great group of guys here. It'll be very well contested at the trials, and that'll have them battle hard and ready to go when they get to Tokyo.
Yeah, they have the world record holder with Watanabe and Koseki as well. They both are medalists at the World Championships.
And they both swim very good races. They're good racers.
Yeah, obviously the top time there, 2:07.17. That's the American record from the trials in 2016. And Josh went on to win that silver medal in Rio.
And was second in the world this year as well. Next is the men's 100-meter butterfly. The standard is 54.19. That is 0.6 of a second faster than in 2016. And 54.19, I remember when, wasn't it Pablo that made the 1992 team with a 54 low?
Yes, it did.
I mean, right. that made the team not that long, 20 years ago. Well, no, 30 years ago now. But not that long ago, that time standard right there would have been right there in the medal hunt for the Olympic Games. That's how fast this event is getting.
Well, this event, obviously Caleb last year was so close to breaking that world record at 49.8. But we're also missing Michael Phelps. This is like the event where he's won the last few Olympic gold medals in this event.
Well, we've got a good field, and we have a lot of speed here in the States. It's going to be a tremendous race. And then when you look at the world scene, you've got Chad Leclose, and the South African who's very good. You've got some Europeans that stood up very, very fast last summer. So the worldwide, it's going to be a competitive event. And again, our athletes talk about this a lot. The mere fact that you come out of our trials, you've already swum the Olympics once. You've seen a lot of people, so you're battle hard and you're ready to go, and you know what it is to race.
Yeah, and one name that came up this summer that we see in that number 4 spot, Jack Saunderson, not somebody we have heard of before. I mean, he had a great
first going to the finals.
Right, did a great job this summer in Irvine, so I'm sure he's making a team.
Well, in all these 100 events, you got Michael Andrew down there. He's really young, so you talk about the age. So you got some young guys like that, and this is an event where we've got a pretty good mixture of young and old.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Caleb. Our only chance to talk to you about him and how he's doing, how he's feeling, and how's his training going early on in the season.
We were a little low-key, took a little bit of a break after the Pan Pacs and getting started again with a focus on moving towards next summer's World Championships. Very focused, goals, and on top of things. So I think you're looking forward to a good year.
He's a great young man. Great young man. Okay, men's 200 butterfly, you see it 2:01.19, 0.8 of a second faster than 4 years ago. A lot of names, again, that you're just starting to recognize, including a Justin Wright and Zach Harding, who are the two guys that were ranked in the top 10 in the world this year. A little unexpected, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, completely. And at the Nationals, I just was struck by 13 guys, 156.7 or faster. That was the first time that this event took a really, really big drop. 156 was normally easily into the final, and here it was 13th or 14th place.
Our depth is tremendous. A lot of young guys, and this is a type of event where a young guy can really stand up. Remember in 2000, this is where Michael first stepped up. And so I think there, and you still got a guy like Jack Conger who swum the event very well. So we've got a good mixture of experience. But on the world scene, this is a big challenge event. Christoph Milak, the Hungarian, is really good.
Milak, yeah.
And we're going to have to be on our toes to really stay on top of him.
Yeah, that he's good.
Yeah, he didn't swim the event in Budapest at the World Championships because there were two others from Hungary that were in the race. But certainly he had the fastest time in the world in 2017 and 2018.
Yeah, by 2 seconds, I believe. He's pretty far out there.
Yeah, he's good. Men's 200 IM, oldest, and again, a lot of veterans in this top 10. 2:04.09 is the time standard. That is exactly 1 second faster, as you looked at Chase Kalish there, 1 second faster than in 2016. This is another event that, Chase Kalish is #1 in the world.
He's #1 in the world. He won the World Championships title last summer and also at the Pan Pacs this summer. We're going to have a first-time winner since the year 2000.
Wow.
A new person, because Phelps won this in 4, 8, 12, and 16 at the trials and the games. So a new name, but that new name, Chase Kalish obviously has put himself in a good spot.
Again, Chase has all the tools, swims all the strokes real well, but a good younger group behind him. Abram Levine, kind of a new name in the scenes, has popped out since he's gone to collegiate and has become a lot better, and a lot of mixtures down below of guys that have swum the event. So and the 200 IM's a real speed event. It's be turned into much more of a sprint, so it's one that you could see someone new pop up anytime.
This summer was really fun to watch in Japan because the Japanese with Seto and Hagino as their two top guys, they really have built up this huge rivalry with Chase Kalish. And so Chase walked through the subway and the huge murals or artwork of Chase Kalish in the subway. He's a hero there, or a rival there, but he's known so well in Japan.
Don't go to the 400 IM yet. I have to ask Mike a quick question. Okay, so you said first time winner since 2000. Are you sure about that?
Did I get it wrong?
Well, no. I'm saying, are you sure we're going to have a first time winner? Meaning,
oh, I see what you're saying.
You see my point?
Yeah, I got your point now.
Hit. You are very good friends with the GOAT, and I just have to ask. I'm sorry, I need to ask the question.
He was playing golf in Paris yesterday,
I
think I'll just stop there. That's all I'll say.
I
don't know.
I know you don't know, but boy, I wish you did.
I wish you did.
I wish you did.
Even if Mike knew, he wouldn't tell us.
Yeah.
What's that?
Even if Mike knew, he wouldn't tell us.
That's right.
Yeah.
He won't swim this next event, I don't think, for sure, whether he comes back or not. But 4:25.99, the men's 400 IM, that's 2.5 seconds faster than in 2016, Mike.
Yeah, and Chase Kalish has put himself as the class in this event, winning the World Champs last summer, 4:05, beat the Japanese head-to-head again this summer. He's really, as you said, Greg, he's got 4 strokes, and his backstroke, which was his weak leg, certainly has gotten so much better. So he's put himself in a good spot.
He's dominating in the breaststroke leg, but again, it's one. The field in the world is good. We've got some good young guys. Hungarians are pretty good. There's a few in Europe that are getting better, but it is on the Japanese home turf, and just like we saw at the Pan Pacs, the place was rocking for the medleys, and then those guys. They didn't like losing at home this time, and they might wind them up a little bit to 2000. So we don't want to be taking them too cautiously. And but we got a good field, and to me, this is kind of a special event. This is the toughest event in swimming. It takes more time. You got to have some speed. You got to have some distance background. You got to be able to swim all 4 strokes. You got to be good around the walls. You got to be finesse, and you can't fake it long course. This is the real deal.
Yeah, amazingly, 20 guys in the U.S., 20 Americans under 420.0. That is incredible depth and shows that the event has gotten so much faster.
Greg, big picture, this men's team overall, including the freestyle events, going 2 years out. I asked Lindsay the same thing, especially on the women's side. What about the men's side?
What I saw this summer at the Pan Pacs, we've got a tremendous group of men. And it's a really unique blend of some very, very young guys, and guys like Robbie Fink, those young kids, they want to be great. But yet tremendous older guys. Nathan Adrian, class act. I think that whole thing puts us in a really unique dynamic. And the thing that seems special to me from a coaching standpoint, we have some people that we would mark as being the leaders at the moment, but our depth is so good, anything can happen in 2 years. There's some young kid out there someplace decide that he's the next one, and we don't know who that is yet. There'll be some surprises.
Take us out, Mike.
Well, Rowdy, we got 633 days to go till the trials. And so that's, the next big event that we have in this country, that trials in 2020 in Omaha. And so thank you for joining us this evening. And you can find all the information on the trials time standards, plus the order of events for the Olympic Games and Olympic trials on the USA Swimming website, usaswimming.org. So thanks very much. Thanks to Gregg for joining, and thanks, Rowdy. Good evening.
Night.